Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to share a few ideas with you tonight. I'm honored to have been invited. I thank PG Narayanan for doing that. I always wonder about that resume. I have been blessed with a lot of opportunities. One of them so far has not been to get to India. I'm looking forward to doing that, but I've learned a lot about it over the last 10 or 12 years, largely because of this rich and diverse Indian community in Minnesota, because of the interest of my boss, Governor Valenti, who led a trade mission in October of 2007, who we think is still the largest state-run trade mission to India. We have more than 70 businesses represented. And we have gotten to know a number of Indian leaders over the last few years. I had the pleasure of meeting Ambassador Arun Singh when he was here, the Deputy Chief of Mission. And Mrs. Bose Harrison has been here twice from the Commerce Delegation. And I'm developing a relationship that is multifaceted and very much reciprocal. I'm going to talk mostly about the business aspects of that. Other people on the panel know a great deal more about the cultural and family and personal relationships, but this is one perhaps of the most unique we have in Minnesota, because it is so much goes in both directions. Many Minnesota companies export their products and services to India. We track exports, and last year we had about $165 million of sales by U.S. companies of manufactured goods. And that's a 500% increase since 2000, even though we've been through 2 recessions during that period. And has a promise of growing dramatically more than that in the future. A number of Minnesota multinational and global companies do business in India. Minnesota leads the nation in Fortune 500 companies per capita, and we're second to Connecticut in Fortune 1000 companies. And many of them have sales offices or manufacturing facilities or service facilities in India. The largest are companies like 3M, who is well represented here, but include Medtronic, General Mills, ADC Telecommunications, C.H. Robinson Logistics Company, Donaldson's, Pentair, Cargill, Thomson Reuters, Fair Isaac, St. Jude, IBM, and others. And increasingly, even small and developing companies from Minnesota want to do business in India. It is, I often remind myself, the largest democracy in the world. We're proud to have a relationship with them. It is a country with an old and rich culture. I think it is the largest English-speaking country in the world, and it makes it so fun to come to a room full of people with such a diverse culture and be able to speak the same language, and that's a great opportunity. We've also been blessed with a number of Indian companies that have chosen to do business in Minnesota. Some of the oldest were in information technology, companies like Wipro and Tata Consulting. Recently, we've had Indian companies make major investments here in manufacturing. We met the people from Suzlon on the governor's trade mission, and Suzlon has made a significant investment in Pipestone to manufacture wind turbine blades. SR Global, and I know executives from SR were here last year, is making the largest industrial investment in Minnesota history in the city of Nashwauk and Itasca County, where they're building the first mine to metals iron and steel complex in North America, and have announced an investment of approaching $2 billion US. We had a great conversation last year with the Ruya family, and asked very honestly if this downturn in the global business cycle would delay their plans. And they said, we don't entirely understand the American philosophy that when things slow down, you stop building. To the extent we can finance this investment, we intend to move ahead because we know it is a great project and a great opportunity. And we'll have assets in place to make steel as the economy rebounds. And that kind of wise but aggressive point of view is served them well. We are headed to major trade shows this spring promoting Minnesota's opportunities. We look forward to continuing to work with Indian businesses and to continuing to build this relationship. We firmly believe that prosperity is not a zero-sum opportunity, that we can have a growing prosperity in Minnesota and the United States as our trading partners in India and other countries continue to add their own prosperity. So with that, I'll turn it over to our next speaker and look forward to your questions and comments.
When I was invited to be a part of this And I asked myself, what can I say to this crowd that would be informative, that they don't already know, and simultaneously provocative? And so, in keeping with the theme of the evening of the number 3 attached to an alphabet over at that table, but nevertheless, 3M seems to be the theme of the evening. I have 3 topics I want to hit upon. But before I do that, I want to thank IAM for inviting me. I'm struck by the fact that the politicians have left. I think the prospect of speaking to you next year dressed in a sari had the desired effect on both Mayor Ryback and Senator Dayton. I think their cross-dressing days are behind them. I'm also delighted always to share a stage with the illustrious Dipankar Mukherjee. To be on stage with Dipankar is a red-letter day, and I'm flattered to be on stage with him.
I don't have a bow tie.
I'll teach you how to do it. You get an extra 5 minutes according to Shabbat. So the 3 topics I want to hit upon are cricket, the Dabbawala, and education. And they're consistent with the various hats I wear in my life. As an academic, I'm interested in education. As a business school professor, I'm interested in commerce. And as a consultant to businesses, I'm interested in the manner in which firms go overseas and do business, particularly food-related firms, technology-related firms. And I'm going to hit upon what I think is going to be provocative. Cricket is a game to most of us, but there is a dark side to it, as I will try and demonstrate. There is a national security component to cricket, associated with match fixing and the associated revenues that fund the underworld and simultaneously potentially fund terrorism. The Indian Premier League, the second component of my cricket story here, is the equivalent of the National Football League here. And recently, the IPL selected players, they paid huge sums of money for players and ignored Pakistani players, which almost led to war. I happened to be in India at the time, and the insult associated with ignoring extremely capable Pakistani players was the basis for some fairly serious cross-border rhetoric. And finally, the nexus between cricket and Bollywood, if you watch the games now between the various cities that are involved in the Indian Premier League, it is amazing the similarity between NFL games. My second metaphor is the Dabbawala, is the person who delivers lunch to roughly 1.5 million residents of Bombay every day with an amazing level of accuracy, and they're all illiterate. Now, there are operational managers who study them to try and understand the Six Sigma associated advantages of illiterate Dabbawalas. But the more interesting question is, why do they exist? Why don't people in Nariman Point simply go downstairs to a host of fine restaurants and purchase lunch? And there are very important social, cultural, and economic reasons that my friends in the food industry study, or ought to study, to understand consumption patterns in India. The third is education, and this is perhaps the most incendiary thing I'm going to say to you today. In this country, high schoolers are still subject to the debate between creationism and evolution. The comparable high schooler in India is studying calculus. This is a serious potential problem, particularly when you consider the level of preparedness of these students when they hit university. And the advantage that the United States has had in the arena of education, which I would submit to you in my unbiased opinion as a university professor, is the singular most important resource advantage we have had for the last 50 years. And that will disappear if the quality of raw material that we are dealing with in the classroom deteriorates. There are many other things we could talk about, but I think we have more important and capable people to talk about that.